Welcome to the Courting Happiness podcast. This is a space where self-care becomes part of your day. A space where you learn evidence-based strategies to help your life, share it with those you love, and cultivate well-being at work. I'm your host, Dr. Kortni Alston. I'm a former news director, television reporter turned happiness scholar, TEDx speaker, and transformational trainer. I also understand hardships. While working my dream job in television, I lived a nightmare suddenly becoming a young widow after 86 days of marriage. I became committed to learning more about resilience, healing, and happiness. This is how I discovered my area of research, which is positive psychology. Now I'm living my calling of training individuals and organizations on happiness. And my new chapter begins with being happily engaged. The Courting and Courting Happiness is about a true courtship. I like to say commitment with happiness. The K in courting stands for the vulnerability of sharing my story, inspirational interviews with phenomenal people, the infusion of positive psychology, and so much more. You'll learn how to commit to your well-being one episode at a time. I hope you subscribe and share. So, are you ready? Let's get started. Welcome to episode 96. Workplace well-being across organizations has dropped, but what can we do to elevate it? Today on the Courting Happiness podcast, we're going to discuss supporting employee well-being in the workplace and what it looks like. I'm Dr. Kortni Alston. I'm so happy that you're here. As I mentioned, we're going to discuss supporting employee well-being. And it's actually based on an article that was published in Psychology, actually positivepsychology.com. And it's with the headline, Supporting Employee Well-Being in the Workplace, 43 Strategies. You can read the article actually in its entirety by visiting the episode page of this podcast at drkortnialston.com/podcast/episode 96. That's drkortnialston.com/podcast/episode 96. So today, again, we'll focus on workplace well-being programs and really also how workplace coaching can help serve you and your organization. So employee well-being is essential. And one of the things that I love about my area of research being in positive psychology, it really can create positive experiences, which in turns can build a positive culture. And according to research, some of the benefits are increased with engagement and performance, and of course, productivity. So when you're thinking about engagement at work, I want you to begin thinking about positive outcomes, like increasing positive emotions, creativity, and even openness to new experiences. I've talked about growth mindset in past episodes, and it's so beneficial. So we're going to look at some real life examples of well-being programs. And this is based on the article. And I love the examples that they shared. They talked about Facebook, and they talked about the Facebook campus where they have this bike sharing program that allows team members to cycle around rather than drive, which I've heard about, which I think is really great to get people moving. And in past episodes, we've talked about the value of movement and burning out, and how, well, I should say actually how when you're burnt out, it can also help with increasing job satisfaction. So that in terms of when you're feeling burnout on the job, that movement actually helps. And so I love that they're talking about the Facebook, in terms of Facebook's campus, I should say, and as it relates to bike sharing and what that looks like. They also mentioned Google and providing its employees with free access to services like massage therapy, which I think is also ideal in regard to allowing employees to feel a level of rest, or at least giving them an opportunity to just reset themselves, right? And trying to unwind to a degree, I should say, at work. The article mentions cloud computing. A company bandwidth offers a 90-minute fitness lunch to their team, allowing them enough time to get a workout in or head home for a fresh lunch rather than fast food. I love that idea in regards to this quote fitness lunch. That's really clever. Then they mentioned the IT service company. Accenture provides employees with access to financial assistance programs and confidential support for stress, substance abuse, depression, and anxiety. I really, really value that Accenture is thinking about, okay, what can we do to provide those resources for our team? I love that it mentions how it's confidential support for stress, substance abuse, depression, and anxiety. I also think it's really, really brilliant that it talks about financial assistance programs, right? Because when you're thinking about finances and its effects on well-being, I really think this is really, really a smart strategy in terms of employee well-being. So really brilliant in regards to Accenture. And then it also talks about how other innovative companies like Zappos, of course, it mentions Facebook again, and Asana provide nap rooms for employees in need of some afternoon rest. I mean, that in itself says a lot in regards to making sure that employees understand the value of taking a break, taking a power nap, and what that looks like, and giving them that space to me, which also gives great permission to say, it's okay. Take a nap, take a power nap. I like calling them power naps. I think because when you take one, you can feel empowered and it can really help in terms of helping you reset. So I love that these companies have really thought about employee programs that focus in on workplace well-being. Really, really phenomenal. So another thing that the article talks about is it talks about the value of workplace coaching. And I think it's important to share that. I say that because as we're talking about the different, quote, real life examples as relates what's happening in different companies concerning wellness or workplace well-being, I love that it's talking about workplace coaching. Recently, I actually organized a panel focused on workplace well-being for an academic conference. What was so empowering about that experience of creating the panel were my panelists that were just incredible in terms of the work that they're doing also in this area. What I also really valued is that a member of that panel was an academic, and actually everyone on the panel were academics. This person also works in administration, so in leadership in higher education, and is trained in strength-based coaching. I love that. So trained in coaching. And I really believe that this provides a really incredible advantage and experience for her team. So even my approach in the classroom and facilitating different training sessions, my style is coach, is really my authentic style. And I hope you can kind of almost hear that within the podcast and how I share information, because I always love to cheer people on. Matter of fact, that's what I end many of my emails with. I will say, I'm cheering you on. And that speaks to, my style, the way I support, the way I make sure that people feel valued. And it's really important for me to make sure that people feel seen, that are part of my team, and really also who I work with. It can be in any capacity in terms of a volunteer dynamic, or it can be at work, or it can be in terms of facilitating different training sessions. So I love that positivepsychology.com shares with us that coaching enhances performance. Workplace coaching can help your organization grow. They mentioned this, that workplace coaching unlocks the potential of the people within your team. Coaching is a great facilitative approach in which the coach enables future self-directed learning and development. In this way, coaching fits as really an advantage. They also mentioned that workplace coaching can occur internally with managers and leaders engaging employees on either formal, quote, sit down coaching sessions or informal, quote, on the run coaching sessions. For some reason, I love the fact that they said on the run. I have this great visual of it being kind of a coaching session where I think I mentioned this. Actually, I did mention this in the previous episode in regards to I'm still trying to figure out how to have a walking office meeting, like walking office hours. So I love that quote on the run coaching sessions. It kind of gives me this whole visual of movement, right? So they also mentioned this: when coaching occurs internally, it becomes a leadership style. It can also occur externally with an outside coach brought in to work with leaders. And when coaching occurs externally, it's called an intervention, which is interesting because as a person that goes to different companies and works with different professionals within organizations in terms of training, I always think about what positive intervention that I can recommend. And it's usually not just one, it's usually a couple that I can recommend that's going to serve them. So what I love so much about what this article shares is that it really talks about the value as it relates to not only workplace well-being programs, but the coaching element. And if you're interested in bringing a coach on board, there are several ways to identifying really your coaching needs. First, you can bring on a consultant with the expertise and kind of helping to, gather information through surveys, assessments, and interviews. And I will say that as a trainer in this area, another benefit is having a person like me come into your organization that can allow you to see things and share different approaches that maybe you haven't thought of yet, and providing different evidence-based strategies to really serve you. It can also do something else. It can create a support system for your team and you. Think about that. It's another person that's serving as part of this strength-based approach as it relates to your team. But I also love the value of thinking about what that looks like for your team and also being able to facilitate different assessments. So it's interesting. When I took part in a training session where I trained a team on workplace well-being, one of the teams that I loved working for was an organization that already had data on their organization as it relates to workplace well-being. They not only had quantitative data where I could take a look at the numbers, they also had qualitative data where I could see different narratives of what the employees were looking for in regards to well-being and what they wanted as it relates to their work experience. So you can start doing work right now in terms of your leadership and management in regards to really helping to serve your team by facilitating a survey, finding out how they're doing, finding out what their needs are. Or you can hire someone, a consultant, a trainer, someone like myself, that can come in and to help you be able to assess your team in terms of gathering that information and to being able to, once again, not only serve your team, but also serve you too. Remember that your well-being is your most important job, and I am always here to help. Thank you so much for listening. Let's continue this conversation online. Email us at podcast@drkortnialston.com. That's podcast@drkortnialston.com. Join us on Instagram at Courting Happiness. Don't forget, that's courting with a K. Also, I hope you join our private Facebook community. You can find us at Courting Happiness Podcast Community. Our private Facebook group is a safe haven to share, meet more people looking to build positive relationships, focus on well-being, and create a happier life. Now, are you ready to spread happiness? We hope you subscribe and share this podcast with your family, friends, coworkers, and all the important people in your world. We release a new episode every Thursday. Congratulations on your continued commitment to your courting happiness journey. Thank you so much for listening. We want you to be well, be happier, and be kinder to yourself. We can't wait to see you next week.